Hi class. Today we are going to introduce a new topic called loops or repetition. But first I'm showing you the code that we covered last week. So these are if statements, and in an if statement we can have a single clause or a single condition, or we can have multiple. So if you recall, you can have an if clause that has a Boolean condition and there's only one of them. You can have 0 or more else if clauses, and you can and they can be in the middle after the if clause, and then you can have an else clause that has no condition, and that's sort of like the default. So if nothing else is true, Java will do this one. And we can have 0 or one of these, so no more than one. And yeah, so this was getting input from the user to integers, and we're checking if they're equal, less than, or greater than. So in this example, I had said we don't actually need this case because we'll never get there because a number is either equal, less than, or greater than. But in any case, the main thing I want to point out here or remind you of here is that we have a Boolean condition. And it's good, if statements are good when we need to make a decision. But they're not the only sort of construct that uses a Boolean condition that's useful in programming. Another one is when we want to repeat code. So when we want to repeat code, we call these loops because you're going through something multiple times, or looping, repeating. And these also require Boolean conditions. And there are three types of loops. There are while loops, for loops, and do while loops. So today I'm going to talk about while loops. So I have a note up here in the comment: a loop in programming will repeat code as long as the Boolean condition is true. So this is a very sort of basic example. If I simply say while true, and then I say system.out.println hello, well, true is always hello. So if I run this code, it's going to just output hello forever. Oh, I have an extra bracket or two. Always beautify your code so you can make sure the indentation is correct. And I have a lot of space down there. So if I run this, you can see it just keeps outputting hello because true is always true. I'm going to stop this. So this is called an infinite loop. Now, what you need in your loops is for the Boolean condition to eventually be false so that it will stop, because it's not good programming practice to go on forever. So let's say I have int num, let's say equals 0. And then I could say something like while, oops, I already have the word while number is less than 20. Now, if I simply run this, this will also run forever. And that's because if we look here, num is not changing. So inside this loop, so within these curly brackets, I need to eventually get num to get over 20 or get to 20. So I can say num equals num plus 1. So I run this, and if we're to count this, there would be 20 hellos there. I could even at this point say output what num is, so you can see that it's changing. So we run this, and you can see it's outputting the numbers from 0 to 19. 19's under that clock there. So ideas about while loops, we use the word while. So do something while this is true. We have our Boolean condition in brackets, curly brackets to denote the beginning and the end of the loop, and then the code we want to repeat. So now let's say we wanted to ask the user to guess a number from 1 to 20. So I'll change this a bit. And I'll say, let's say int, I'm going to define a secret number. And I showed you another way to define a random number the other day. So this is another way. So just now you have two ways of defining a random number, but they're essentially both the same. So here when we define a scanner, that's a variable and it's called an object. But we'll get into more into that later in the semester. Now we can also create a random variable or a random object and then use it. So the name of the variable is random. So I'll say random dot next int, and if I put in brackets 20, that's going to give me a random number between 0 and 19. So if I want a random number between 1 and 20, I'm just going to add 1 to this, because then it'll shift everything by 1. And then I'm going to ask the user, I'm going to create a guess variable. That's where we're going to store the user's guess. I'm going to initially set it to -1, so it won't be true. So I'm going to say here is my Boolean condition. While the guess is not equal to the secret number, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep asking the user to enter a number. Actually, I think I'll have a better way of explaining this. Just a moment. Let's say instead of using a while loop, I use an if condition. If I said, let's say system.out.print, enter a guess between 1 and 20. So then we're going to get the user to enter a guess. Guess is already defined, so I don't have to tell Java what the type is. I'll just say guess equals input dot next int. And then I can have my if conditions. I could say if the guess is equal to secret, system.out.println congratulations, you got it. So if I run this, okay, I'm going to, I think I probably have some extra brackets there and too much space. I'm going to beautify my code. And if I go to run this, guess a number between 1 and 20. So let's say I say 10. Oh my gosh, I got it. That doesn't happen very often. I run this again. And I put in, let's say 15. No message comes up, nothing. So I guess I didn't get it. So we could add to this if statement. Like if you think about if you play guessing numbers with your friends and they guess it wrong, what kind of helpful information could you give them? You may tell them, oh, that's too high, or your guess is too low. So I could say here, else if the guess is less than the secret, system.out.println, your guess is too low. And then I could also say, oops, else if guess is greater than the secret, system, your guess is too high. So that, again, I'm going to beautify the code. I'm going to save it. And I'll share this link after as well. So now I'm going to run it. Oh, error on line 40. That's another thing. It's good to get comfortable reading the error messages. So you know it tells me right here, line 40. So I run this. Enter a guess between 1 and 20. I put in, let's say, 10. Your guess is too low. Oh, I wish I could guess again, or I wish I knew what the number was. So we could fix both of those. I could put here afterwards system without that print line. The secret number is, and then I can just output that, right? So I run this, and I make a guess. Let's say 12. Your guess is too high. The secret number was 8. But now, let's say I want to let the users keep guessing. Then what I'm going to do is I could put all this inside a while loop.